Okay. I know what happened. I know what happened. I am an idiot sandwich. I am an idiot sandwich. So hold on. Okay. Now you can hear me though. Yeah, but now I got all my stuff up. Hey guys, sorry about that. Uh God, that is embarrassing. Well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut the live stream, trim this later, and we'll just get rid of all that blank space. Sorry. Okay. Um, so, quick question for everybody. I mean, I sat there and talked about all these, and you all couldn't hear me. Oh, God. Good God. I can't believe I messed it up that bad. That's hilarious, though. Okay. Well, it's what it is, right? Um, you know the scene from Forrest Gump, right, where he's does the whole speech. That's what I feel like right now. Okay. Um, so thank you to the viewers who did stick around. We're back and we have audio. It's still working, right? Star Captain, am I good? Am I good on audio? It looks like it. Okay. Whoops a daisy. Yep. Okay. Appreciate it, guys. I appreciate it. Do you guys want me to still read those questions and answer them? Um, because I totally can. I had some. I'll go through them much quicker this time though, so I could actually get around to the rules previews that I want to talk about today too, which is really the core of what I want to discuss today. But some of those Instagram questions were kind of fun. And I guess it's not fair. I didn't actually answer them, right? If there's no audio, I didn't actually answer the questions. So, oh, oh, still can't believe I did that. All right, all right. So, why are the new Imperial Guard models bigger and do you like that? Yes, as a hobbyist, I like detail. I like getting in there and creating my narrative through the detail of the model. And we haven't had highly detailed Cadian since they got rid of the Cadian upgrade kits from Forge World. And they discontinued the Elysians, and then the only choice you had for highly detailed models for a guard range were really the Krieg models, which weren't for everybody, right? They were expensive and resin and so forth. But now that we're getting these new models, they are bigger, but they have more detail and they're scaled better. I mean, if you guys ever notice how long the fingers are on a current Cadian model, they're like a foot long, right? It's kind of ridiculous. Okay, ideas for competitive lists. I don't know. I think we will be able to build very well-rounded lists. They are updating our codex for artillery, for tanks, for infantry, for elites, for HQs. We're seeing existing data sheets get updated. We're seeing new data sheets that look good. So I think we'll be able to build pretty well-rounded lists that compose a lot of different units. Why hasn't the tank been released yet? Average Elmo? Because GW likes to tease us. They're a big tease. And if you're on into that kind of relationship, yeah, go to Forge World because they don't tease it very much. They just like, hey, 1 week out, now we're selling it. But not GW. All right, the new traits are a good thing and are more flavorful than before. Better for headcanon. 46 Cadian, I absolutely agree. Also, guys, if you don't follow him, you should. He is savage. He also has some very witty and satirical videos that he likes to post on his Instagram. So it's good stuff. White Shield's data sheet. We better have conscripts. If GW wants to find, you guys know that I rarely have a negative viewpoint on much of anything. But if we do lose conscripts, which I think is likely because we don't actually have a model set for those officially, right? And they seem to have been doing away with that. So special weapon squads and conscripts are especially, and veterans are all at risk. I'd be very disappointed to see those go. But we'll see what happens. None of us have gotten the official codex leak, like the full codex, the official codex yet. Yarick gone forever? Yep. And I hope they do a cool narrative for this. I hope he died trying to fight a demon Primarch. That's what I hope. He goes out in a blaze of glory. He's also ancient. Very ancient. Okay. New base sizes. I still have no clue about what is happening with Guard and Scions. Okay, so for what they said during the live stream is that shock troops and regular infantry will still be on 25mm bases. But the HQ units and elites, right, the command squads, the new Castellans, they're going to be on 28 mils. So we are going to get a little bit of increased base size on those. Kazarkins are also on 28 mils. I can confirm it. They're sitting right here next to me. But so far for our regular everyday infantry, they're going to stay the same. Okay, I'm going to go back to the beginning here because you all missed that. And then we'll start. We'll start with that. So I've already addressed that. Autoguns. If you guys haven't seen that, we'll show it in a second. But autoguns, is that something you will take on a sergeant? You know, I'm really tempted. I'm really tempted. You guys know I favor the bolt gun and the plasma pistol, but I don't know. The autoguns just look cool, and that's why I did the bolt guns. Real cool. So I think it's likely. Recommended carrying cases. Okay, I want to do a whole video on this, but I'm going to be very brief. Tower case by Table War. Magnetize your models, magnetize your units. Table War. For big, heavy Forge World resin models, then I recommend Battle Foam. I own a lot of both, but I will talk about that more later. New data sheets. So I like the data sheet updates we are seeing so far. I'm a little nervous about what's going away. Once again, conscripts, veterans, and special weapon squads. I have a lot of all of those, and I'm a big fan. But the updates we have seen to the actual sheets themselves, I think, are wonderful and are adding a lot more diversity to our range, and actually then allows each of the currently supported regiments to feel like they have a place and are a little bit different. Will all Death Corps Krieg units get the mini transhuman thing, or is this just going to be for the infantry data sheets? Just for the infantry data sheets. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Autogun speculation. We are definitely getting autoguns, it looks like. We just addressed that. So definitely coming, and we are actually going to get multiple versions of the autogun for our sergeants. Not only are we getting autoguns, we're getting multiple versions. I'm honestly impressed, right? No, usually we don't get the special weapons like that, you know, the one-off weapons that only one model can take in multiple variations. So that's really nice that they've done that in the kits. Will there be an issue running mono armies using different rules? We don't know yet. We don't know how that, like, how mixing in other armies such that aren't agents of the Imperium will impact the Astra Militarum Codex yet, but I'm hoping we find out very soon. Mounted elites in HQ choices. Here we are, I mean, we're getting a mounted HQ choice. We're getting the new Lord Solar, but for elites, not yet. But if they decide to do something like later on, like release new Talarn models and their old versions of what the Rough Riders were, can't remember what those were called, they had an odd name. We might see that again, especially since they're kind of supporting the other regiments a little. So, but we'll see. No new models yet. Okay. Before I go on the rant, I want to double check my audio again real quick. We're still good. Could you do all of that if that's okay? Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing all the questions again. Okay. So real quick, this Hades Breaching Drill. I own 3. In the 8th edition codex, I highly recommend them. What you can do is you can either take Krieg engineers or you can take veterans units. And it's a transport, right? It carries 1 squad of those. Unfortunately, you can't bring like a HQ or elite choice command model with them. You can only fit that 1 unit because of the way it's written currently. But if the rumors are true and we're losing veterans, then I don't know what the Hades Breaching Drill will do, and I don't know how they will FAQ and errata it so that it can function with the 9th edition codex. But we'll see. I'm very nervous about that because I've really enjoyed that, and I think it adds a huge, like, kind of surprise build to the guard, right? People, you build a guard list, you say, hey, you want to play against my guard army. They have some assumptions. Like, they come to the battle with some presuppositions about what your army will be. And when you have deep striking, anti-vehicle, elite infantry units they get very surprised. And that's the breaching drill does that for us. And so I hope it doesn't get. I hope it gets fair treatment when we get that updated. Are we going to see Valkyrie squadrons? It is a possibility, since we are seeing artillery vehicle squadrons. And so the squadron rule will actually mean more in this new codex, it looks like. So it's a possibility. I also would like to see them do orders for Aeronautica Imperialis units. Why not? That's my one disappointment if you take an aircraft right now in the 8th edition codex. There's no way you can manipulate that. There's nothing you do to give yourself an advantage. Your aircraft is just its data sheet. There's nothing else to... Okay, fine. You could take the Master of the Fleet and get +1 to hit against units within 18 inches Master of the Fleet, which is a little more relevant in the smaller table sizes we currently have. I still just don't feel like it's much of anything. Or maybe it's not +1 to hit. Maybe it's reroll 1. See, it's actually so pointless. I don't even know what the rule is. I don't take it. And I take almost everything, but I just don't do that. I got a nicely painted Master of the Fleet, too. We'll see. We'll see about the squadrons on flyers. Scale creep. I think they're going to look fine. We've done some size comparisons already, like the internet community, right? And it looks like it's okay. They're going to be a little taller, a little bigger, but they're going to look real nice. I'm not too worried about it. We already had scale creep on all of our HQ and elite models anyways, right? All these, like the Severina Rain and all the other models we've been getting for the guard range over the last few years, the Cadian characters and so forth, they're bigger. They're already scaled up. And when I run those HQ models next to my current Cadian Shock Troops kit, it doesn't look bad. I think it still looks good. So I don't think it'll be a problem. I think it'll be just fine. Future list building and fluff. So I've already talked about the future list building. I don't like to speculate too much because we don't have all the information yet. We don't have all the stratagems. We don't have all the regimental traits. We don't have all the unit data sheets. So there's too many missing mechanics that we do not understand to get good speculation on this. Even with the leaks we've gotten that Morty and Glory has put out, we don't have enough information to really get a good grasp of list building quite yet. But fluff-wise, I am looking forward to this. Valric rumored today that there are some big lore updates for the War on Armageddon. And I'm curious if there will be other lore updates as well. We'll see a Cadian update. So far in the books, they are just still fighting the Chaos incursion across the Cadian sector. And I'd like to see that maybe shift a little bit. Do they finally get on the offensive and start pushing Chaos back? But they can't close the Cictrus Maledictum, right? And so, but they're fighting back, but they're not like losing planets constantly anymore and so forth. If you haven't been reading those Cadian books, they're actually pretty good. I've been enjoying them. Justin D. Hill books, they've been good. But I'm looking forward to seeing some of the new lore updates in our new book. Okay, so the last one I'm going to read here. So the Imperium has recap, but do you think they have cream and sugar too? No. No, we don't. The Imperial Guard is the hardest fighting force in the Imperium. They are grit. They are the backbone. They are the hammer. They are the steel. There's no room for softness. They are grit. They drink grit. No. No cream and sugar. All right. And most of these are then repetitive at this point. I downloaded a few of them multiple times over. So we'll go back to... I'd actually like to talk with you all for a minute real quick from the chat. And just to see what's going on here. So, all right. Yeah, we got a few of you here. And it's all right. If there's no questions from you, no questions so far. So you all just heard me reread, actually with audio this time, the stuff that was submitted to me via Instagram. So thank you all who did that. And then as well, I'm going to go ahead and talk about just kind of the rule preview recap that we've gotten for this week. So, oh yeah, no problem. You're welcome, Star Captain. All right, guys. So let's go. I'm going to go real quick and do a screen share, and then let's see if I do not lose my audio. I really need to get this set up to where I can do the chat while doing this. So Got to get that. I got to get that figured out. Really, it's just my Stream Elements overlay. Okay, so here's what I want to discuss. I want to discuss some of the rules previews we've gotten so far, and just look at that real quick. So I'm going to pull up my chat here on my phone. Got my chat. I got my chat pulled up, so I can see you all now if you got questions. But all right, let's talk preview. So here's where we started last Sunday. They announced they're going to sell the new box set. And for those who didn't see this right here, that's one of those auto guns that I was just discussing a moment ago. And so it looks like you get 2 squads of shock troops. That's what they've hinted. Great poses here, right? Lots of good bets. Pointing finger, knife in hand, auto gun, waving hand, hand on helmet, hands, right? Okay, so the last gun's in a lot of different positions, a lot of different models. We can see the kind of assault version with the fold down stock. You can see a regular stock. There's one in here. It's got a broken stock, and it's kind of been taped right here. It's been taped on, and so forth. The special weapons, right? We get the plasma and the melta, grenade launcher, Voxcaster. So lots of great models here, and so we've seen that. So they showcased that. Nothing really new. Great photos of this stuff, and then they also showed off the Goth Rocca. Okay, so then we start getting rules teasers this week. And this is where it gets really exciting. So the first thing is that we know there's going to be a shock troops data sheet. So with that, this is going to be their rule. An unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. Okay, so we get exploding 6s on the shock troops. And they're going to have rapid fire weapons and assault weapons is what it looks like. That's primarily what they're going to be kitted out with. And they're meant to be your fast-moving infantry unit that gets up there and really gets into the mud of the fight here. So that makes sense. They're going to run up really quick. They're going to get a lot of shots. But they're probably going to go down really quick, too, the way our infantry always does. So the other rule they showed off was the new Vengeance for Cadia stratagem. In that next post, or in the same post, but on the next day. And what we're seeing here is that so platoon will impact orders, it looks like, so, or at least for this stratagem. So Vengeance for Cadia, it's 1 command point, and then it can you select a unit, a platoon unit from your army within 6 inches of a Cadian officer, and then they add 1 to their wound roll for all attacks against the chaos units that they fire at. It's a nerf, but the other thing was our current Vengeance for Cadia, when you do play against chaos, it gets some feel bads, right? If you bring a Baneblade, or if you bring a really kitted out Lehman Russ tank commander, and then you use Vengeance for Cadia against the Chaos Army, rerolling all failed hit and wound rolls, yeah, they get a little upset. It doesn't feel good. And so I can see where they've toned it down a little bit. I don't know if it's really worth 1 CP now. Just the +1, it might be. Could be circumstantial, because I'll tell you what, say you're shooting your last guns at something, and we don't know how many shots we're going to get yet, maximum number of shots, right? We don't know how first rank fire, second rank fire is going to work, and so forth. But if you do get a lot of shots with your last guns, and you're only wounding Chaos Space Marines on 5s, now you could wound them on 4s, and with a lot of shots, it could make a big difference. So circumstantial, maybe Punisher Gatling Cannon, maybe the new Dorn tank, right? Okay, we got some profiles for our artillery. They're looking pretty good, but it depends on points here, right? I think these are going to start replacing some of our current Forge World models, is the way I'm looking at this. And so we get the Bombast gun. To me, that is replacing the heavy mortar. It's a little different, but I think that's kind of where it's going. It has non-line of sight. The heavy last cannon, 2 shots, strength 10, does a lot of damage. I'm glad it's getting 2 shots. It's giving us a much higher chance of actually hitting, and then with strength 10, it's a very high chance of wounding. So that's going to help out rather than the 1-shot last cannon like we have now. I'm looking forward to the heavy last cannon. Then we have the Malleus rocket launcher. So I think I understand why they did it. But notice here, it says on abilities right here, it needs line of sight. It can't shoot indirect. So we have an infantry killing artillery unit that cannot shoot indirect. Now, I think they did that because of how egregious it can be to just completely eliminate your opponent's infantry without needing to see them, which is what the current issue with artillery is, right? That drastically impacts the game, and maybe this is the way they're correcting it. And maybe we'll see this not only for the Guard, but for other armies too going forward. And they might see changes like this. So, I don't know, but I think that's why they did that. Rather than trying to like universally nerf artillery, they're slowly going to move this direction where, especially for killing infantry, it's not quite as egregious. So you can't just take your opponent off objectives. Okay, we got an updated profile on the Scout Sentinel as well. Increased movement. It's got increased wounds, increased toughness, all of it good stuff here. Really looking forward to using it. And the new kit looks great too. I know it's necessarily not the ugliest kit we have right now, the current one, but I've built a lot of those. I've built 9 of them. And there are some problems with the current kit. And it looks like they've addressed those problems with this new kit. To include like just some of the ideas about the physics of the model in terms of its balance, where its centroid is located, now has a weighted counterbalance. You can actually mount the Hunter-Killer missile on this. You weren't able to on the current kit if you build a Scout Sentinel. There's just nowhere to put it. You can put it on the roof of your Armored Sentinel, but really there's no good attachment point on the Scout Sentinel as built. So all that seems to be corrected, and the model just looks nicer. I mean, this looks like a really good model. Okay, so the next thing they did was show off regimental traits. So the first thing we get is Parade Drill. So it's the Mordian trait. And if a unit with this doctrine remains stationary in your movement phase until the end of your next shooting phase, change the type characteristic of the last gun and hotshot last guns models, and that unit are equipped with the Heavy 2. Just want to note something. So it says hotshot last gun models. Currently in our 8th edition codex, there is no way to give a regimental trait to anything with a hotshot last gun unless it's a specific Scion trait, Scion regimental trait to the Scion units. So here they're hinting that there are some of the units are going to share regimental traits that way, and whether that's the Kazarkin kit or whether that's the Scions themselves, maybe they're going to have the same regiment trait as the rest of your army. We don't know, but it's hinting at that. Now, everyone's complaining. It's like, oh, this doesn't look that great. Well, yeah, but we also don't know everything that's happening. Right? We don't know what's going on with this yet in its entirety, but we don't know what Heavy 2 could mean. Maybe there's a stratagem for that. Maybe there's some other change in our codex that impacts heavy weapons, and that therefore there's some benefit to it. I mean, I think there is already obviously some benefit, just rules as written, 24-inch range on your last guns, but they're only rapid fire 1, and here you could double your number of shots at 24-inch range, right? So rather than having to get within 12 inches to get double shots, you're 24 inches. So maybe just by itself, that's all they're expecting out of it. But I suspect with that Heavy 2, there might be something else to that. Not sure. Okay. So excited for this. Expert Bombardiers. So what we are getting is an artillery regimental doctrine. Now remember, you pick 2 of these doctrines, put them together, that's your regiment. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be taking this almost every time because it's exactly the rule that I wanted. I wanted a rule where artillery was impacted by scouting units and Voxcasters calling in the shot, and right here it is. If you're within 12 inches of a Sentinel model or a friendly Voxcaster, add 1 to the attack's hit rolls with artillery units. That is so great. And I cannot wait to use that. Watch out. Earthshakers are going to be tearing apart the battlefield, along with Wyverns and so forth. So We have a lot of stuff with artillery keyword. Don't forget about your Forge World models. Your Earthshaker carriages, your heavy quad launchers, your heavy mortars. They also have the artillery keyword. I'm curious about the Minotaur. I think it does too. So the Minotaur could benefit this. But Minotaur's issue right now is just its dual Earthshaker cannon rules aren't that good. Okay, veteran guerrillas. So Tana first and only is what they're trying to say here, right? And notice, oh, by the way, each one of these gives you a keyword, which I'm assuming plays off stratagems and other kind of synergies within the codex. So you get the veteran guerrillas keyword, and then each time an infantry or sentinel unit makes an attack against a target within 18 inches, they don't receive the benefits of cover for that attack. May not seem like a big deal at first, but that is a really big deal, especially if you are you're playing in a meta, which you should be, by the way, you should be, in which you have a terrain heavy table. Space Marines, like for example, receiving the benefits of cover, have a 2-up armor save. You have now just reduced their save chance by 16% just by ignoring cover, right? So now 1/3 of all of your wounds could go through, which is a big deal for guard and mass amounts of fire with your infantry and sentinel units. So I really like that. I'm a fan of that. I think that's going to have some cool implications. Industrial efficiency. Well, Steel Legion, right? You basically ignore AP -1, which it doesn't say any particular keyword. Nor does it say you get a keyword. Right? Look, like the other ones, you get a keyword, right? You don't get that here. At least not in the preview they're showing us. So that means your infantry, all your vehicles, everything that can receive this gets ignore AP -1. Okay. You know, I think that has a place and could be useful. The last one they showed us is Grim Demeanor, so Valhallan trait, and then you ignore any and all modifiers to your combat attrition test. I think that can be important, but it just depends on what units we have in the codex, right? If we still have conscripts and we still have white shields, and you're taking those and then you add Grim Demeanor, I mean, that's a big deal because you're going to be taking morale tests on those units. 30 models with leadership 6 or 5, depending on how they do the data sheet, if it's there. You're going to be taking morale tests all the time. By not getting modifiers to your combat attrition test, you're reducing the number of lost models by half when you take your combat attrition test. So that's a big deal for keeping your units around. And that's what I do. I use my conscripts as like a big tar pit. I run them forward, I get them on an objective, and I go, good luck. I just sit on it. They shoot back, but they're there to die, but die slowly because there's so many of them. So this could really impact that. We'll see what the new codex has in store for us. Okay. So then they go over some other stratagems. So we can see that if you have the veteran guerrillas or Cadian keyword, you can do the vicious traps here. And this is 1 CP. And then there's all these bonuses. I'm loving this. So you get +1 if you're Cadian or veteran guerrillas. You get +1 if you have a melt-a-mine keyword. Oh? A what? And then you get +1 if your army includes Sly Marbo. And then on a 2 to 5, the enemy unit suffers D3, and on a 6, the enemy unit suffers 2d3. So let's just say, hypothetically, you have all these buffs. You have the Melt-a-Mine, you have the Cadian or veteran guerrillas keyword, and you have Sly Marbo on the battlefield. That's +3. So on a roll of 3 or higher, you do 2d3 mortal wounds to an enemy unit that finishes a charge move within engagement range. That's pretty tasty. That could be a build in all of itself. Acceptable losses. So this is... I really like this one. It's narratively a lot of fun. And what it is you can shoot at an enemy unit that is in engagement range of a friendly unit. But on a hit roll of 1, you allocate the attack to your friendly unit. So you have 2 infantry squads, one's in melee, one isn't, and the other one shoots into the melee against the enemy unit. But every time you roll a hit roll 1, unmodified, and you can't re-roll it, you have to then resolve your to wound and to save rolls on your friendly unit. I love it. And this is impacted by platoon or grim demeanor units. Once again, we're seeing these keywords a lot. I think they've really changed up the keywords here. So regimental tactics, this is where they are discussing how regimental stuff works for our new codex. For every model in your army, excluding agents of the Imperium and online, has Astrometal Term keyword. Each time an officer from your army issues a regimental or prefectus order to a unit with this ability, you can select one or more friendly platoon units within 6 inches. Those platoon units are also affected by the order. Now, we don't know what does and doesn't have platoon units. I think we can assume heavy weapons teams, shock troops, Krieg, Cadian, regular infantry squads. They're all probably going to have the platoon keyword. Maybe some other stuff as well. And so basically it's the same orders we have now, but the trigger is going to be not just infantry keyword, regimental infantry, but it's going to be platoon, which I think is interesting. And then same way for squadrons. And this is what I'm talking about, squadrons now having a bigger impact on the game, which I'm very excited for. So each time you're an officer issues a mechanized order to a squadron unit within 6 inches, those squadron units within 6 inches of that unit are also affected by that order. So hello, ordering all 3 Leman Russes or all 3 Basilisks, the same order. I love it. Okay. Last preview they showed us so far was this here. So Death Corps, this was talking about our data sheets, and that's what we're getting into here. So the Death Corps data sheet, they're saying that many transhuman, basically wound rolls of 1 and 2 automatically fail. There's so much strength 6, strength 7, strength 8, now strength 9 out there. I think this does matter. There's a lot of anti-elite stuff, and then when that anti-elite stuff is turned on guard infantry, I mean, it takes us out pretty easily. I'm pretty sure, like Death Guard, right? They got their bloat drones that have the flamers that can wound us on a 2-up. And I don't remember whether that's innately or with a buff, but either way, right? They can wound us on a 2-up, and now you get to ignore that, which is a 16% reduction in the amount of wounds you're going to take, supposedly. Jungle Fighters. So for the Cadian sheet, every time they fight in melee, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores an additional hit. Okay, so we see shock troops, we've seen Creed, and we see Cadian. Those are the 3 regiments we currently have in plastic. Oh wait, besides Gonix Ghost, but I think they will just have their own data sheet in its entirety, but they don't have an infantry choice that we know of yet. I don't think they're going to get one, but that would be cool if they did, but right now they don't. So these are pretty minor. I think that's intentional, so that when you add on the regimental buffs and other buffs on top of this, it doesn't become some runaway, overpowered thing. I think they've really kept the Guard Codex tame, which is good. That means we will have a predictable meta. So when our Codex drops, we will know what we can and can't use, and that things are not going away very quickly. So we can update a profile for Sly Marbo. I love Sly Marbo. I don't take him as often because he is Cadian, and I mostly run Cadians. But we're going to be able to do that now. You're going to be able to mix regiments. And so he's got an updated profile. He's got great melee, great ranged attacks. I mean, 3 shots of that pistol, and each unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition to the flat 2 damage. You could really snipe some characters out with this. Also, just to note, that is Snake Plissken's Uzi pistol. I mean, in case you guys didn't know that pop culture, there's lots of pop culture reference in this model, but that's my favorite one. So that's from the Escape from LA, Escape from New York movies. John Carpenter. Okay, anyways. This was a big change too. Commissars. So they're going to get prefectus orders. The 2 orders they show here are Forward for the Emperor and Get Back in the Fight. These are not new. These are existing orders. But what I love here is what they're saying is commissars will focus on keeping troops in battle and keeping them engaged, whereas in your officers will focus on the strategy and the tactics, getting them to move to a certain point or fire a certain way. Whereas the commissars are going to make sure you stay there and you stay in the battle, or you charge forward with the most zealous energy you have in order to, you know, take out the enemy. And so that's what they've done here, is they've given 2 of our current orders to commissars. And I imagine we could see some more as well. But even if we don't, I think this is great. And if this is what they're doing with commissars, you can bet I will have 1 or 2 commissars behind my infantry lines doing cool stuff here. What is the point of the regimental doctrines? Okay, so this is from user I'm Better Than You. What is the point of regimental doctrines for Mordians when there are no models? Oh, yeah. Hey! Hey, JB Wargamer. What's up, man? Cadian stands. Heck yeah. So what's the point? Because we love them, right? What we're probably going to have a Talaran regimental trait too. We have a Valhallan trait. We don't have models for a lot of our older regiments now, but they're going to give us something so that we can build to the fluff that we love and use our old models if we want to, or use the new Cadian shock troops models to make a new regiment and use these to build our own custom regiment. So that's what they're doing. They're supporting us. And I'm glad they're doing that. I'm glad that GW is here and giving us what many of us want out of our rules and our fluff. So it's really, really, really wonderful. All right. So the big daddy of the rules preview was the changes to the Death Strike. So what they're saying is that the Death Strike will now have 3 missile options. I think it's interesting that they're doing that, because normally when GW gives us weapon rules, it's because it's physically modeled that way. That's the rule lately. If it's not physically modeled, it goes away. If it is physically modeled, they're giving it a rule. There's only one way to build a Death Strike missile in the official rules kit. What they did show us in this post is like they painted the tip of the missile a different primary color, right? Blue, green, red. So it's interesting that they've done this and decided to give us multiple options for a weapon that can only be built one way. But what they have showed us is what they call the Godspear Warhead option, is that you place down, so what it is, you do an action for your model with this weapon. You place a token on the board, and then you can choose on your turn to either use the token and fire the weapon, or to then move the token. So your opponent then knows where you're going to do this ahead of time. But there's lots of different ways this can play into the game. So you could use that to screen. You could use that to try to get them off objectives. You could use it to try to take out a really big model. You could fire it on your own stuff and then laugh. Because your opponent wanted to charge you to try to take an objective, so you fire a nuclear missile right on yourself. Right? And get them to. There's a lot of different ways you could strategize this and use it tactically. But what they've shown here with this weapon is roll 1d6 for each unit within 3 inches of the center of the Death Strike missile's target marker. And on a roll 2 to 3, unit suffers 8 mortal wounds. On a roll 4 to 5, 12 mortal wounds, 16 mortal wounds. You then remove the Death Strike target marker from the battlefield. It's an action to create the marker, and then you remove it. Now, we don't know if this means you now get to fire these multiple times in a game. We don't know if this means you can bring multiple, because maybe they'll have some type of relic keyword that prevents you from taking a bunch of Death Strikes. But also, it seems kind of tame, so it doesn't seem like you would want to take 3 of these, maybe, in a 2,000-point game. Maybe you only want to take 1 or 2. Probably 1 at the most, but it's a great way to discourage your opponent from being in a certain place you don't want them to be, especially, or making them pay for committing to something, such as a charge or moving into a certain area. And really helps you get board control by controlling where your opponent can and can't go, and then punishing them when they decide to be there. Punishing them, I mean, what else in the game does 16 mortal wounds? Or even 12 or 8. Not a lot. So that's a huge change. So Death Strikes are back. I would not expect to see them all sold out. Even though I got to be honest with you guys, I'm not telling you all to go out and buy a bunch of Death Strikes. I think they're going to be okay. I don't think they're going to be game breaking. I don't think anything in our codex is going to be game breaking. I think we're going to be right in the middle of the pack, which is where we want to be. It's where we want everybody to be in the end. And I think that's what we're going to see here. And that's what they're showing us with the rules preview. So there's not a whole lot that's like, wow, that's super powerful. And that's on purpose. They want us to have a balanced codex when it releases. All right. So from Jägermeister 175, from the 42nd Cadian, Forge, brothers and sisters, to victory. Yes. All right. And then Robert Lowe, hopefully you can run 2 and make sure that they block an objective off completely. That's what I was thinking. I was talking with Cadian Shock about this. And it's like, you take 2 of them, right? That's a 12-inch oval you've essentially blocked out. Now, the other 2 versions of this weapon, they've hinted at it in the article. There's going to be a searing plasma version, and then another that's a grav weapon. And they're saying the plasma one will have a much bigger area, right? So if you just want to annihilate a ton of infantry or elite models, throw down the plasma one and hit a bunch of stuff. So I think this is definitely going to be the way to go to take one of these. And you do not choose which of these 3 missiles until just before the game starts. So you can decide whether you want the big nuke or the plasma or the gravitational one. You get to pick, which I think is really awesome. And we'll see how the rules work for each of those. I'm assuming they all will use that Death Strike target token. We'll find out as we see the codex leaks here. They get the actual pages from the codex across the next week. That's my assumption, is that as people get that book in their hands, people are going to leak it out on Reddit and YouTube, and we're finally going to see the actual pages in the book, which is then going to really shed some light on what we can and can't do. But I think you are right, Robert Lowe, that you take multiple of these and you could really start to combo or really have a good strategy for screening areas or blocking your opponent out from something. And you know what? We're the guard. If we shoot ourselves, whoops. That's what we do, guys. Yeah, so Jägermeister says, that's hilarious. Your opponent can never prepare for this rule. Exactly. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's going to add a lot to our guard. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah. That's it. Wait, hold on. I'm going to refresh the community page, make sure I didn't miss anything today. Nope, I don't see any new articles. No further leaks. So I don't, nope. They got stuff on the books and things like that, which, by the way, I'm serious. Go read the books. I've been reading all the Cadian ones. They've been really great. I do recommend checking those out. So, okay. So when you launch the nuke and roll a 1, the enemy catches it. Okay. When I play against my opponents and they have a really large model, say a big Demon Prince or like one of those big Tau Walker units, right? I don't like Tau, so I don't remember what the name of their units are called. To me, they're all just the enemy. I will actually take my model. I'll take my missile off the model and I'll lay it on their base or in their hands. I'll do the same with my Manticore when I fire its missiles too. I'll actually take the missiles off and put those on there. Will you be using the new Cadian kits in your army? Oh, heck yeah, I will. And I will continue to use my old models too. I have 300 painted Cadian infantry models. I'm not getting rid of them. I'm currently actively painting 11 more conscripts. I'm not stopping. I'm going to keep painting. I'm going to keep using my old models. I'm going to add the new ones in too. And, but I'll wait to see what exact data sheets we have to decide how I'm going to shuffle my models around and use them. I have a lot of special weapons teams. I have a lot of veterans, and I've actually customized veterans to be different from my current infantry squads. So backpacks and the other Cadian upgrades, I got on them from the old Forge World kits. So hopefully those data sheets stay around. But if not, I'll figure out how to reshuffle my models around to make it work. Because if we lose special weapons teams, I don't have have the other 4 models to flesh those out, so I'll just have to like break those up into other squads for special weapons and stuff. Yeah, it is dedication. I'm very nervous painting more conscripts while we've had the rumors that the conscripts were going away. I think it'd be a bold move because I honestly think a lot of guard players would revolt if we lose our conscripts. So I wonder. So JB Wargamer. So if you guys don't know JB Wargamer, dear God, please go to him and his brother's channel. His brother is Striking Scorpion. So go check them guys out. Do amazing battle reports. But he's asking, I wonder if the new codex will incorporate the current balanced data slate. If so, that will be super powerful. Okay. My assumption is yes. And here's why. That's what the precedent has shown us. They have released other codexes and then not immediately updated the balanced data slate. Because the balanced data slate is meant to correct the larger problems, typically, of the meta, and not usually specifically the codex, but they tweak a codex to deal with the larger meta. And so they didn't do it for the Chaos Knights, I don't think. They didn't do it for the Demons or Chaos Space Marines. And I think some other codex have come out. So we might actually see the current balanced data slate stuff stay in play after we get the codex out. Yeah. Oh, dude, no problem for the shout out. So Cal Squid asks, will you be adding any more regiment units to your collection to utilize the new rules? I know you have a couple of neat custom projects. So that is true. I don't show it. I'm sorry. I need to really finish them up. I do have Valhallans. I have Astroyans. I have Talarn. I have Catachan. I have my own custom warfare regiment, and I have Gaunt's Ghosts. So what is that? 7 other regiments? I didn't actually keep count. Yeah, I'll be playing them. And my Krieg. I have actually lots of Krieg. I had a full Krieg army that I never got fully built and painted. Recently donated some of it to another hobbyist, so they could enjoy it and love on it, right? But no, I do plan on using some of the other regiment models because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Thomas Gilliam, you may have mentioned this elsewhere, but what are your thoughts on the loss of the veterans and special weapons teams? I was just talking about that. I am still praying to the Emperor that they will stay. If we do lose them, I hope there is some type of replacement. I hope somehow that happens because there's a lot of things that will be impacted by that. Hades breaching drills will be impacted, and then also what's that mean for like the command squads, right? Which command squads look like they're changing drastically. Just to note, I mean, they have new like sub models, right? New units, subcomponents of that unit. So it's not going to be that they're just veterans hanging out with your commander anymore. They actually have other roles. We don't know what that sergeant at arms is going to do yet necessarily, but it's interesting to me. So we'll see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed though. Hopefully conscripts stay. I agree. All right. I don't see any other questions right now, and that really is all I have for you all today. I just wanted to quickly go over all this stuff, read those great questions you all submitted me on Instagram. For anybody watching this, there will be several minutes deleted at the beginning of the stream because my mic cut out. Whoopsie. But hey, I'm learning to use OBS a little better, and I forgot that my microphone had got deleted out of one of my presets. So, speaking of which, going back to the solo preset. So, that's it for today. Just wanted to do a quick recap. And thank you all for tuning in live. Special shout out just once again to JB. Honest to God, JB and his brother make my favorite battle reports on YouTube. They're so wonderful, high energy, beautiful models. The best tables I have seen. They always knock it out of the park with their terrain that they use in their battle reports. Really phenomenal. Please go check them out, guys. Which you probably already do. If you're watching me, my smaller channel compared to Striking Scorpion and JB Wargamer, go check those out. So they're really great. And I will be. Oh, that's right, Cow Squid. It's my buddy Austin. Hey, Austin. Sorry, I always forget everybody's handle on here. Always forget who people are. Oh, shameless plug. Shameless plug time. So I do have merchandise. I don't camera. It's right. So I do have merchandise with my logo. It's got the 707th on it. It's got Cadian stands on the back. And then my favorite thing, and the link is here, currently on the live stream. So there's merchandise link. It's also on my profile. But my favorite thing, practical, is actually this. It's a hobby apron. And so it says, well, feck, I spilled my shade again. I got it in multiple colors, but it's got these little straps you tie it around. And I get tired of actually ruining my clothes while I hobbied. So I made a little hobby apron that you guys can buy. It's got nice little pockets on the front that you can put your tools in, your cell phone or whatever while you're sitting there hobbying. Man, I love this thing. It's great. I really like it. So that and other merchandise too, if you guys are interested in supporting me at all. I don't put anything behind a paywall. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm just here to discuss hobby with you guys. I love Warhammer. I love painting. I love modeling. I'm just here to do it with you guys. And so that's why I'm only promoting the pragmatic stuff like the hobby apron, because I know you guys, everyone could use a hobby apron, I think. Does anybody else ruin blue jeans by spilling super glue on them? It's just not one of those like, why, like those infomercials, those terrible infomercials, like how white people can't even hold like a bucket of popcorn or something. You know, life is just so hard for them. No, I'm like serious. Like we hobby, right? And you spill your super glue or you spill paint or I had a whole thing of like airbrush paint explode on me the other day. And it was really bad, but so this has saved me a bunch and I'm glad I bought it. So I really do recommend getting a hobby apron, guys. Oh yeah. And Austin bought some of my merch too. Thanks dude. And got to try it out and is wearing it. And they are nice. They're high quality shirts. That was my problem with my old stuff from Teespring is I actually didn't like some of the quality, but I like the quality here. And I think it's nice. So, I have one of those tops for my 42nd Cadian. Absolutely love it. Says Jägermeister, and Sergeant is one of the best interactive guard YouTubers in the community. Oh, Sergeant is one. You talking about me? Really? Thanks. Appreciate that. Thomas says, yes, I got a spot that forever has a crusty spot of dry glue. No, it's the worst. But I'm like, why am I not wearing aprons? I made an apron and I wear it and it's great. Hey, still unsure. Glad to have you here. We're getting ready to wrap up though. I think I need to do this again sometime. I think some of you all really liked it and we had fun. I had fun too. I always like talking with you guys. And I need to just learn OSB better. I need to learn the components of live streaming better because like one of the issues I just need to figure out is just the logistics of it. Like how can I see the chat really well and talk to you guys and also not accidentally delete my microphone input. Sorry, everyone. But yeah, I need to just figure that out more. Hey, the 707th salutes you, JB Wargamer. And for protecting us in the skies, flying that Thunderbolt. It's Captain Barker, keeping us safe on the ground. So greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Gonna go spend some time with my family, do some hobby here. But I will catch up with you all next time.